This is the most expensive machine ever put to sea. $13 billion, 100,000 tons of steel, 2 nuclear reactors that can run for 25 years without stopping. It's longer than the Eiffel Tower is tall. It carries more than 4,500 people, and it can hurl a fighter jet off its deck every few seconds. It is the single largest warship ever built by any nation in history, and today, I'm taking you through it, from the flight deck all the way down to the reactor core, including the parts the Navy would rather you didn't see. Newport News Shipbuilding constructed the massive hull, measuring 1,106 feet in length, which the Navy officially commissioned into service in 2017. Now operating from its home port at Naval Station Norfolk in Virginia, the vessel rises 250 feet from its keel to the highest point of the island's superstructure. This immense vertical profile contains 25 individual decks, providing wide internal spaces for crew transit, storage, and daily operations. The ship is capped by a 5-acre flight deck, a sprawling steel runway equivalent in size to several football fields. This layout expands the operational area, creating a streamlined platform for sea-based aviation. Yet, the physical scale of this supercarrier is only the outer shell. Every square foot of this steel mountain must be managed and maintained by the crew, raising the question of how such a colossal volume actually functions when deployed far from land. The active surface of this 5-acre platform is the flight deck, where physical design changes speed-up aircraft movement. The island superstructure, which serves as the ship's control tower, is smaller than on older carriers and sits 140 feet farther aft. This relocation frees up 8,000 square feet of deck space, creating an open runway that clears the path for launching jets. Instead of traditional, century-old steam catapults, the carrier uses the electromagnetic aircraft launch system. This system uses a linear induction motor to accelerate a fighter jet from 0 to 150 miles per hour in just 2 seconds. By eliminating the steam generation plant, the system allows for a rapid launch cadence of 1 aircraft every 20 seconds at surge tempo. This increases the daily launch rate by 25% compared to previous carriers. Once these planes return, the recovery sequence relies on the advanced arresting gear, which uses electromagnetic engines to absorb the kinetic energy of landing aircraft and bring them to a complete stop. Directly beneath this active runway lies the hangar bay, a cavernous covered deck acting as the ship's primary garage and maintenance depot. This industrial cavern houses a major share of the carrier's 75 aircraft. To sustain flight operations, massive deck edge elevators continuously shuttle multi-million-dollar fighter jets between these 2 levels. Nearby, 11 advanced weapons elevators form the backbone of the ship's ordnance flow. Driven by electromagnetic linear synchronous motors, these high-speed lifts transport up to 24,000 pounds of bombs and missiles from deep magazines at speeds of 150 feet per minute. This more than doubles the 10,500-pound capacity of legacy hydraulic systems. Inside the steel-walled assembly line, ordnance men and mechanics maintain a relentless choreography, refueling and arming aircraft in a tightly confined workspace to keep the flight deck fed. Far below the hangar decks, at the physical core of the ship, sits the source of this operational energy, 2 Bechtel-designed A-1B nuclear reactors. These pressurized water plants are engineered to run for 25 years before requiring a mid-life refueling, giving the vessel decades of continuous operation. In addition to propulsion, this power plant supplies the entire floating city, generating the steam, electricity, and fresh drinking water needed to sustain thousands of sailors deployed far from land. This thermal energy drives the carrier by turning 4 steel shafts connected to 4 massive bronze propellers. Each propeller weighs approximately 30 tons and measures 21 feet across. Together, they convert raw nuclear power into 350,000 shaft horsepower, pushing the 100,000-ton ship through the water at speeds exceeding 30 knots. Yet, The exact engineering of these reactors remains among the most closely guarded secrets in the United States military. No visitor, and only a select group of authorized crew members, will ever see the reactor cores. Instead, the public only ever encounters sealed steel doors with strict security protocols, hiding the silent, heavy machinery that makes every action on the flight deck possible. To keep this steel fortress operational, it must function as a fully self-contained municipality for its 4,500 residents. Sustaining this population far from any coast requires a massive domestic infrastructure. Every day, the ship's galleys prepare and serve more than 15,000 meals, keeping the crew fed across multiple mess decks. Below the hangar level, sailors sleep in high-density berthing areas where individual coffin-style bunks are stacked 3 high in tight compartments. This floating community features its own main street, complete with a barber shop, a post office processing tons of mail, a ship store, and multiple gyms. Spiritual and disciplinary needs are met by an onboard chapel and a functional brig. For healthcare, the ship operates a state-of-the-art hospital, equipped with an operating room, intensive care beds, and a full dental clinic. Sustaining these services requires constant resource generation. The ship's desalination plant filters seawater to produce thousands of gallons of fresh water daily for drinking, cooking, and hot showers. Yet, this daily cycle generates an immense domestic burden: laundry, endless bags of trash, and mail that must be sorted. It is this fragile human network, operating in the shadow of the reactors, that keeps the giant machine alive. The primary offensive power of this supercarrier lies in its air wing, extending combat reach across hundreds of miles. To defend this asset, the ship operates within a protective screen of destroyers and cruisers forming a carrier strike group. The vessel's own defense begins with a dual-band AESA radar scanning sea and sky. This system guides Sea Sparrow and rolling airframe missiles, alongside 3 Phalanx Gatling guns firing up to 4,500 rounds per minute. In 2021, the Navy tested this structure during shock trials, detonating 40,000 pounds of explosives underwater beside the hull, registering as a magnitude 3.9 earthquake. The steel held, proving its combat resilience years before the carrier launched its first combat sorties in the Middle East in early 2026. Despite its advanced defenses and unmatched nuclear power, the carrier has been dogged by embarrassing failures. The electromagnetic catapults and high-speed weapons elevators took years and billions of dollars to reach basic reliability, while the redesigned vacuum toilet system remains plagued by persistent clogs first flagged by watchdogs in 2020. This vulnerability turned hazardous on March 12, 2026, during a combat deployment in the northern Red Sea. A fire ignited in a laundry dryer vent and burned for hours, injuring 2 sailors and destroying berthing spaces for more than 600 crew members. Displaced sailors slept on tables and floors as the damaged supercarrier left the line, sailing to Ceuta Bay in Croatia for emergency repairs. The Navy eventually restored habitability by transferring 1,000 mattresses borrowed from the unfinished USS John F. Kennedy. It is the ultimate paradox of the world's most advanced warship. A platform that can launch fighter jets in seconds remains entirely dependent on the reliability of its dryers, pipes, and mattresses. Subscribe to the channel to join us for our next look inside the world's most powerful machines. Ultimately, the world's most advanced warship remains bound to the laws of its simplest components. Its true vulnerability is not high-tech warfare, but everyday reliability. The giant machine is only as strong as its smallest gear. Subscribe to join us inside the next engineering marvel.